Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, July 3rd. So, we need to re-roll this, and so we have 3 victories, Hunter, Mage, and the Great Heist bosses. 3 Great Heist bosses. I got the Watch and Learn done. There's kind of no reason right now to not open these packs. So this is, I guess, the beginning of the Tavern Brawl switch. So starting, I guess, today, we'll investigate that in a second. I guess let's first dust these cards. So all those cards were redundant. So we'll just get a pile of dust, and over here I don't believe we set the new, yeah, this was the new card back. So we'll set that. So this ends in 7 days. So today we will do just the America's account Tavern Brawl. And in an effort to keep things balanced, we will do the Tavern Brawl for the European account on Friday, and the Tavern Brawl for the Asian account on Monday. And then that means just every recording, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday going forward, there will be a Tavern Brawl element, which is going to just spread the pain and balance things out. See, Hunter Mage is what we'll be playing as. All of us are also what's your bolt stall with smart deck, recruit as you go. Fine, we'll do Hunter. Hunter should work fine with that. Yeah, I think that'll work. That this doesn't really change my general thought that that as soon as the Marvel card game from Second Dinner actually comes out in beta, I think I've hit a point where I will jump over to that. I think that's probably the right move. Hearthstone is just so long in the tooth now. It's so old, and I did not get in early enough on it that I don't feel like that there's much further you can go with this. They'll just add more expansions until they stop making money and stop caring, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not next year, but the year after next year they say we're just gonna have 2 expansions or 1 expansion, and they may slow down to 1 expansion a year for a few years, and then eventually they'll just say no expansions. Let's see, what do we want? Choose a minion, destroy that minion, add a random 1 cost minion to your hand. I'll take that. That's probably more useful than anything else I can do. Is it really worth it? Nah, I don't think it is. Oh, it's re-rolling. Interesting. I didn't realize your hand was going to mix into your deck. I guess that's what just happened there. So you have coins, chickens, and weapons by default, and then you get more things. Let's see, play this, and then play that. Yeah, I'm sure that was a smart move. So I've been playing Zombies still crashing like crazy. I am now on to zombies/zombie U. It should just they should have just stuck with zombie U as the name, frankly. Even though I'm playing the PC version and it's not a Wii U game, it still very much feels like a Wii U game. It's built around the idea of having a tablet controller that you can put up and scan things with as a major gameplay mechanic, to the expense of the game really not having any other major gameplay mechanics. The game has proven itself to be pretty trolly. Twice now I have run into zombies that are hiding around corners, for lack of a better term, that explode on contact. So there's really been no fair gameplay in the 2 times I've died. Every other instance has been rather easy. There was a section where there was a big open street and it had way more zombies than you would see anywhere else in the game. There was probably about 10, when most of the rest of the game at most has 3 or 4 people in a relatively large area. However, it was very easy for me, or perhaps a little bit even lucky, but all I had to do is get to a higher location, and from that higher location I threw a flare, which you pick up a ridiculous amount of flares and never really have any use for them. And you throw a flare that gets all the zombies in the very big street area to go into one air section, and once they were all in that one section, I just flew through a Molotov cocktail, which you get a lot of Molotov cocktails also, but at least they are useful, and it just started all the zombies on fire, and they all died. So there was really no challenge around that at all. I also feel like the game Zombie, it put us in a weird, like, there's no way to really explain this logically. That it sent us to get antibiotics, and instead of having them send us into a zombie infected hospital, which would be a great trope to play onto, just bodies everywhere, half of them being zombies, half of them not, to get antibiotics in hallways and like hallways that you really don't even have to decorate visually that much, because it is much more believable that a hospital hallway would be empty, or of anything really. There's just gonna be some slight signs on the wall and that's it. And then crash carts can look the same over and over again. You could make a actually rather large map, and I don't think the Zombie U could actually handle having large maps. I don't think the Wii U could handle it. It was clearly an underpowered device. But instead of having us go to the hospital, it sent us to a daycare. It's like a half children in cribs and half children that would have been at least at the beginnings of being potty trained, because there's little toilets that you see, and weird looking hand washing stations that I've never seen before. They look like fountains. It's just this round thing that I guess water just constantly would flow through. So it's like this daycare preschool type place, and you hear talks of there being children in there, but then they don't show any zombie kids. There are no zombie kids in in this at all. All you run into is a sort of new, a new zombie type that can go invisible, which there's no explanation for that, and that can disrupt and jam your scanning ability. Alright, so this is going to be a 50-50 shot to hit this guy. And I missed it. Alright. So, unlike Dead Space 2, where you're in the school, they spend a long time in this creepy space colony school where you're looking in different classrooms, you're seeing actual zombie babies. They made it a full-on character class, enemy class in the game, and you're definitely shooting zombie necromorph babies in Dead Space. You do it in 1, you do it in 2. The school you see in Dead Space 2 has several classrooms and a gymnasium, and I don't know if there was anything else. It's just a couple of classrooms in the gymnasium. There in fact are not 1 but 2 child necromorphs. There's the baby ones that explode, and then there are the just young ones that just kind of look like little gremlins or elves and run towards you. Zombie U not willing to go that route at all. So yeah, I don't know what they thought they were, where they were going with that. If they did not have the gumption to go with that, then I don't know why they would have even bothered.
Right away.
I mean, it really would have made a lot more sense for them to put it in a hospital and then just have more human zombies. The variety of zombies in Zombie U is expanding well enough. We've got some red ones that seem like they're more powerful. We've got at least 1, if not 2 classes of people that explode. We've got the standard ones. We've got spitters that spit at you. Looks like there's some electric ones. Although it does seem like you probably only run into the special class of zombies once or twice. Maybe at the very end of the game they are going to do something crazy with that. That could be the case.
This one turned out nicely.
This freaking snap. This freaking
Converting stored energy.
snipe attack. It's driving me crazy. And I'm gonna lose, of course, so no surprise there. I think even though the game Zombie U is crashing like crazy and I'm having to save the game, it crashes no matter what I do. Like, if I just pause the game, leave it exactly where it is, and then take a like 4-hour nap because of insomnia and then come back, it will crash. So they did not test it at all for even leaving the game paused, and I imagine it probably would crash even if I had tried to just play the entire 10+ hours of gameplay straight through. It'd still run into crashes. So I'm having to have very erratic episode links where I'm just playing until I hit a save spot. That's all I can really do. Alright. Is there some way I could possibly do that? No. You have no cards in your deck, your hand, or your battlefield destroyed the enemy hero. These guys just screwing with me anyways.
Job's done.
So I guess we should just start moving on with the news. We still don't have a ton of news coming out today, but it's starting to warm up again. We're starting to get games that are actually worth some mention from what it looks like, and I think we're starting to have some more things. There was a game that I don't think we'll mention today, but they Sid Alpha covered them as a dirty dev because they re-released their game. Apparently they re-released their game a second time and threatened a lawsuit and blah blah blah. It's just like, so there's more drama. I don't know what you really want to do to fix if you are a game developer and Sid Alpha in particular spotlights you as a dirty dev. You probably should like say, we've heard your feedback and we're going to adjust accordingly, but not apologize, because apologizing doesn't work for anything. So like it's a weird situation, sure, that you would be in, but like the insincere "we appreciate your feedback, we've heard your feedback" kind of works, and we'll see a story about that exact maneuver later today.
So many options.
But let's start with this game on Steam. We have something called No Yo ! Which looks to me like it is an RPG game, not using RPG Maker graphics, and for that reason alone it gets a few points. Now, depending on the price on this there might be a cutesy kind of RPG here worth playing. Maybe not, but it doesn't fall into the level of something that feels like no effort was put into it. It also has pixel graphics. I'm not a huge fan of pixel graphics, as anyone who's followed this channel knows, but I'll give this a follow. $8.99 discounted, English and Japanese. Yeah, this might actually be something like a Japanese indie RPG that might be worth it, but I'll have to put it on the fall list and see. Speaking otherwise, the Steam summer sale is still going on, so if you would be so kind to support my channel by friending me on Steam and gifting me a game, that'd be very much appreciated. Or, you know, if you just haven't subscribed to my channel, subscriptions would be super helpful too. And if you have subscribed, figuring out who you can convince or grab somebody else's phone and subscribe to my channel on their account, that would be nice too. Subscriptions, frankly, it feels like more and more I have to become this shill to try and get people just to get me up to 1,000 subscribers, so I could get back to, and it really would have to be more than 1,000 subscribers, because if I was exactly at 1,000 subscribers, I would just fall off of the requirement the next month. So it'd have to be a little bit over for a buffer sake. Oops, didn't quite play that right. Might as well get rid of all the coin cards as possible. But yeah, I don't like shilling, but I would like to get back to ads on my channel. Back when I only had like less than 100 subscribers, I was getting like 7 cents a week. It was something. It's not real money,
So
but it's
many
here's a penny. Now with Patreon, you're like, well, you got to convince somebody, an individual person, to give $1 a monthly, or with gifting a game through Steam, you have to convince somebody to give something close to $1. There are games that are like 69 cents, but I don't know how many of those are actually on my wish
A
list.
clever concoction.
The Grand Prix race part of the Steam Summer Sale is still a giant mess. I don't know the reason for it, but for one race, Team Corgi was once again at its like highest amount of acceleration, so it was just way ahead of any of the other teams. So it seems almost as if they reverted the settings back to the original way the game worked, or maybe there was some other reason for that. Being on Team Tortoise, I am in second place overall in the Grand Prix, so I picked, I think, fairly wisely. I think it's gonna work out pretty well there. That being said, I certainly haven't been gifted any free games, and I'm not seeing a lot of instances of people being gifted free games. So I was thinking 1 in 10,000. It may actually be that the odds are a lot lower. It might be that it's really closer to 1 in 50,000 people are getting free games. Or it could be that there are just so few people actually playing the Grand Prix because it's so complicated that they're giving only a tiny percentage of a tiny number of people who are actually playing the let's see. I don't think that helped much, actually. I feel like where Steam kind of fails as far as, instead of giving away games or giving away trading cards that are really only going to be worth maybe 10 cents each, they need to find a happy middle ground between the two. So a $5 off coupon for any purchase on Steam
So many options.
would be fine. Although if you give a coupon, then it would probably be something that would feel like you could trade, where it would be easier just to give store credit.
We are friends
Like,
now. Hello, friend.
And you know, there would be a kind of nefarious way you could solve the problem of so many Steam trading cards on the marketplace if you're trying to get rid of the trading cards, which is my theory. Of what they're trying to do is de-emphasize that and just kind of roll the marketplace down to so that the marketplace is only really for Counter-Strike Go skins, and that's about it. What Valve could do easily is they could move the well, I'm just gonna win here, so let's just take that victory. They could buy people's trading cards. Valve themselves could just buy them for like $1 and give the well, not for like $1, for whatever the people are selling them for, and then by them buying the trading cards, they're giving cash for those things, and that would be a way to get rid of that. Alright, we got a legendary. Is it gonna be a redundant legendary, or is it a new legendary? This might be one of the new legendaries, actually. Yeah, only only 2 of those cards. What was that? That was a weird audio glitch. Only 2 of those cards were new. Alright, now we need to just defeat heist bosses, which means try once again.
Join me.
Hunter, Mage.
Undertaking in the history of villainy.
So this time I'm going to turn on Anomaly mode. After a spell's played, a minion of the same cost is summoned.
We must unleash them.
And then we'll play as the Mage.
Criminal element.
And then what we want is, let's see, freeze a minion if slightly frozen, do 2 damage, reduce the cost of spells. There we go. Burn. Spells, 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 spells. Or elementals. Or kindling apprentice. I'm gonna choose the kindling apprentice.
Now this little one shows some potential.
Yeah. If Steam just in the next summer sale or the winter sale came out and said we're just giving away free cash, there's no way to really get it out of the storefront, except for maybe there's some shenanigans you can do with, like, in theory, yeah, I guess you could buy Counter-Strike Co. skins and then go to third-party trading sites and sell that for real-world money or Bitcoin or whatever that would be. But I think that's kind of all you could do. Let's see. But yeah, something between 10 cents or at most for a trading card, which previous things, yeah, maybe you could get 30 cents, maybe you could get $1, and potentially getting a $60 game. The vast majority of people who have gotten games gifted to them, which is a much smaller group of people who actually are getting anything, are getting the pre-order for Cyberpunk 2077, which inherently is a $60 game, so, or $70 game. Do I want to get rid of this guy? Probably. I don't think I need to play that conservatively. Right now, at least. And I guess we'll just stick with this and go as far as we can go. So even if we do get 3 victories, we'll see this out. I don't see a reason not to do that. See this. And this. This. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article here. Gundam Battle Gunpla Warfare announced for smartphones. Now, the last Gundam game that came out was not well received at all. So the odds of this next Gundam game being very good are not particularly high. I think inherently Gundam is such a popular series. Like, this looks slightly interesting, building your own characters and games, but I think Bandai is going to screw this up somehow. And Gundam as a series is a problematic series because it's just so long, and the warfare story behind it is the part you kind of want to know, not the part of not just seeing all the action scenes, because it really doesn't take a lot to see that yes, there's action scenes in it, but the harder thing is to realize and follow the whole story of it. And I know that there's, in my understanding of Gundam's not even that great, but I know that there is like at least a couple different universes, and the main storyline is the longest one and the hardest is just impenetrable. Helpful advice I don't think is useful. Your minions have +1/+1. Your death rattles trigger twice. I don't think we're gonna have a lot of death rattles, so we'll take that. And then we really just need to look for spells. I mean, we could start rather quickly with that strategy. I guess that's our best chance.
The Shining Moon Priestess. We should introduce her to
On the other
Bob.
hand, if the mobile game did work well and actually did try to slowly tell you the story of the main story of Gundam, that would be nice. But I don't know how you would do that. The main thing is Gundam's so old now, it needs a remastering of all the visuals and possibly all of the audio, and possibly possibly a rewrite on some of the story too. So yeah, it's a difficult project that you would have to try and do there.
In the light's name.
And I think that they have tried and done that better previously, and it still didn't really satisfy anyone. I need to get rid of this card so I can play this card to make copies of this card. And since I can't do that, I'll just hit this for now. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam here called Oncoming Death Steam Edition. Now, I don't know why there would specifically be something labeled Steam Edition. It says Oncoming Death is a round-based game like Call of Duty. Parts will help you to escape from the dark land. Circle of Death. Believe me, find the way out. So this looks like a not even amazingly low effort asset flip first person shooter. It's kind of well, I'd probably still call it low effort, but I wouldn't call it very low effort because there's some visual polish on these buildings and these walls, but there's nothing here clearly. 49 cents discounted, English only. So yeah, Oncoming Death Steam Edition not making it to the fall list.
Don't worry, love. The cavalry's here.
And
Bad guy?
yeah,
Bad guy.
Is someone injured?
is this guy gonna try and draw all his cards? Copy that one, so I now have 2 of these. Deal 2 damage. Oh, yeah,
Yo,
There's
shiny.
that.
Job's
In the
done.
turn. So we have Maze Quest 2, The Desert. I believe Maze Quest 1 came out a week ago. We were starting to see more people flood the Steam market again with garbage games. 89 cents discounted, English only. 54 achievements. That's clearly an achievement game. Yeah, there's really nothing stopping people from cheating achievements still. Which should be a bit of a concern also. Is
A little cut.
there is an exploit, a mod in Starbound, I believe, that because one of the games that you can get a infinite number of points from in Starbound is Starbound, and you have to drink a soda. So there's a mod that literally just turns a pile of dirt into like 500 sodas, and you just drink sodas over and over and over and over again.
Someday I'll be just like you. Someday I'll be just like you.
So yeah, there's definitely a way to cheat it as an exploit. People who got in early and spent a ridiculous amount of money. So Tyler McVickerson from Valve News Network, he pre-ordered the $1,000 Vive set with the 2 Knuckles controllers and the 2 tower sensors that you are required, and the 1 VR headset. So that was $1,000 that he purchased, and that allowed him to get so many points as far as a maximum capacity of points, that all he would have had to do at that point is play games that he previously gotten achievements for to get enough points for 30 minutes. Whereas I spent only like $120, which I think is much more reasonable, and that's limited me in capacity every other day to just 100 points. So I have plenty of games that have gotten achievements and earned points, but I'm at the maximum capacity that is allowed. So so people who were big spenders got their badge up above level 2000 before they changed the rules and said your badge can only be up to level 2000. And I imagine those people now are just stopped, so they can't go any higher than what they did. Getting your badge up a lot higher really only maybe increases the chance of booster packs dropping, which might increase the chance of you getting money on the Steam market. So there actually is some real money in that, but not particularly a lot.
Some of my
So-
best friends are torches.
Of the woods.
So yeah, there's some weirdness certainly with the Grand Prix. It was badly thought out. I think if Valve was going to do anything, they probably should just do an apology. Everybody's a winner here type claim, and give everybody something nice. Just it would probably be too much to say everybody gets their first game off their wish list, and it would be an insult to say everybody gets a random game off their wish list, or everybody gets the cheapest game on their wish list. So there would need to be some kind of middle ground in there. It's like if everybody got I guess the $5 off your next purchase coupon would be the best bet. That would be nice. It's like everybody that participated in the Grand Prix gets $5 off their next purchase. I think everybody is happy. If that's a coupon, it doesn't make that real world money, and if it doesn't make it real world money, then you can't go and buy Counter-Strike Go skins, and so it's like $5 off the purchase of your next game, not $5 off your next purchase in general.
Everyone has demons.
Alright.
Of course.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably the best thing they could do, is just say, we're sorry, we messed up. We should have thought this through a lot more and tested this a lot more. Deal 20 damage split between all enemies. Add 3 random cards to your hand. They cost 0. After you play this card, replay it. After you play a card this turn, replay it. That might be interesting. We're looking kind of for spells. So we'll just take that. Next we have a game on Steam called Underspire, which looks like it's a tower defense card game, like Slay the Spire, clone, but not as good. $14.99. Feels like a Chinese game, and it supports English and Chinese. So yeah, there's nothing here that looks interesting, and that is a very high price. So that's not making it to the fall list. Alright. We need to adjust our deck.
Ah, friendly face. Usual?
See, increase your starting health, reduce the cost of a random card in your deck by 0, discover legendary, choose a friendly card, remove it, add all enemy minions. Your power does 2 damage, wouldn't do any damage. Discover a card, Divine Shield.
Arson?
So there's something here we would want to remove. There really is no reason for this, but I don't know if that would need to happen. So let's start with this. Just reduce the cost of a card to 0. Alright, that works. Do we want a legendary minion? Or do we want 5 health? Which would do us better? I think a legendary minion
Can't go
would be
wrong
better.
with that one. They're irregular.
The deck has no duplicates, it already has duplicates. We'll take a big dragon. So then it really comes down to, is there anything here that really we should get rid of? I don't think the answer is yes on that.
I'll put it on your tab.
I think we're perfectly fine where we are. Pogo may defeat me here, because he's just going to play a bunch of the Pogo characters. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian letters. It looks like an RPG Maker game, and I imagine it's a Chinese RPG Maker game. English not supported, $1.19 discounted, Chinese only. Yeah, so of course this isn't making it to the fall list. So I talked about earlier how the insincere apology, not apology, never apologize for anything ever. I don't even think apologizing in the old days was the right move. Like, frankly, I'm pining for the days of duels, and I think people should never apologize and escalate it to the point of a duel. Because you may still be wrong and should have apologized, but you're better off killing a person than in a duel than you are apologizing and looking lesser in the eyes of society. But the non-apology, we've heard your concerns and we're going to react in some way according to them. And the same way as the Pokemon story happened, where it's like, yes, we've heard your complaints about the Pokemon not having the national index, and that doesn't mean that it's never coming back, which I don't believe was ever really a concern for most people, that it wasn't ever coming back. It was a concern that it was gone, particularly in this game. Because really all that response on the Pokemon National Pokedex controversy is that maybe in the next game, of the 800 Pokemon I think that are getting left, I think it's 800 that aren't coming to Sword and Shield, maybe 200 of those show up in the next game, and then a different 200 show up in the next game. If it is just always going to be this whack-a-mole system where it kind of doesn't really ever come back to all the Pokemon being in one game, it's still the exact same problem. Like, people want all of the Pokemon they've ever seen in a game, or they want a really good explanation, which they're not getting, as to why all the Pokemon can't be in the next game. And the good explanation needs to be something along the lines of, that's because this is in a different timeline or a different universe or something like that. I feel like Digimon probably did a bit of that too, where there probably are some Digimon in some games that were in a different universe, particularly in the anime, because the Digi world was like rather different in later seasons. And I don't think that was just explained away. I think there was a real reason for it.
Azeroth's so-called heroes are trying to stop us.
If I get
Send them to
3
the
more victories, that would be nice, but it seems unlikely. Anyways, the story that's all set up for is Game of Sutra. Epic pledges to cover the refund costs for the crowd-funded Epic Games Store exclusive. So they said for a couple weeks now, Shenmue 3 developers YesNet has been saying no refunds to the backers who backed for Steam code and aren't getting it now on Kickstarter. Now, I think inherently Kickstarter probably told them, you're not going to get away with this. We're going to file fraud charges and investigations because you promised one thing and you're not delivering on something very specific. You promised Steam keys, you're not delivering on Steam keys. So now Epic Games, feeling the burn from being hated by basically every PC gamer, is stepping in to help YesNet pay for the refunds that I'm sure YesNet was getting forced into paying.
He's unbreakable.
Right, this is the guy that he can't hurt himself.
I am my armor.
So this is gonna be a bit of a problem. Seriously cannot do anything right now. Does this really, as a gamer from the outside perspective, I probably wasn't going to play Shenmue 3 because I haven't played Shenmue 1 or 2, but if I had played Shenmue 1 or 2, does this make me feel any better now that I'm potentially getting a refund? Because I still would refuse to play it on the Epic Store? Not really. It's like... yeah, this is a bad example, but it feels like if I was a Shenmue 3 fan, I feel like I've been kicked to the ground, and then Epic has just thrown a handkerchief on me and says, wipe yourself up, you're bleeding. It's like, sure, it looks like a kind act, but it really isn't. It's completely an insincere grab for something that the Epic Store is just never going to get, which is being liked or appreciated by gamers. Yeah, that's just not going to happen unless some major things changed. I could see people actually having liked the Epic Store had it launched with a full storefront and not gone so much with the exclusives. The only thing you can really take from the story that Epic is pledging, and I assume they will actually go through with it to cover the refund cost, is that maybe Shenmue 3's developers threatens to pull out of the exclusivity deal, or possibly
I was right all along.
yeah, I don't know what else it could mean than that. Possibly it was already negotiated for even before any of this happened.
Not prepared.
Right.
Never surrender.
Job's done.
Yeah. The other thing to take from this is Fortnite is clearly still making the Epic Store money, or something, or the Unreal Engine has made the Epic Store way more money than I would have thought they actually had, which I find that a little surprising.
You require my assistance?
Alright, let's see. Hit it with this. And hit this. And hit that. Hit that. And do that.
Aha!
Someday I'll be just like you.
And then do that.
Time to turn up the heat.
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Flesh fails. Try this time.
So, yeah. The Epic Store seems to have a lot more money to play with. Maybe they've been growing this war chest for a long time. Like, maybe this was a plan that they planned on doing a long time ago, and they finally got around to it. And taking on Steam. Let's see. And we should be able to win here. Yep. Next story we have from Gamma Citra. Valve is exploring, quote, several ways of doing untethered index VR. No duh. There's really no response or more bit of information you need to hear from that. It's like, they should obviously be investigating any way that you could possibly get rid of the wires in a VR headset. That totally makes sense, but it doesn't really mean anything until it actually means something. This kind of research should always be happening.
You aren't taking a break, are you?
So,
There's work to be done.
if Valve Index 2 came out a year from now, and it didn't have wires, that wouldn't really be a factor to me. It'd still be the price. The price is the main issue. Do we have an enemy minion we want to add to our deck? Whenever you cast a spell or summon a random 2-cost minion,
Mayhem?
destroy an enemy minion with taunt. I'll take that.
You made a friend.
Is there something here we should remove? Look at 4 spells and reduce the cost to 1. That would be great. Yeah. The most expensive one is now reduced to 0. Worth 4. So I could get rid of this, which would be a healing minion that I don't think I really need. Or I could fill the tavern with new minions. Is there something else that I'd really like to get rid of?
Mayhem?
Let's do this. Just re-roll everything since we can. Yeah, I don't want to get rid of any of those, so we'll just end the turn there.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Next, we have a game on Steam here called Forgotten, which looks like a pixel art, low effort, dark screenshot syndrome, adventure game, horror game. Yeah, there's nothing that they're willing to show on the screenshots. Like, you pick your screenshots, so if you've made a game that's 100% dark, that's on the creators of the game. $1.69 discounted, English only. This is not making it to the follow list. Like, even if you are making a dark horror game, there should be a few scenes that that are brightly lit and look good just for presentation's sake. In fact, one thing that's a little weird about Zombie U, or Zombie, is in the middle or near the end of the second act, I feel like it is the end of the second act, you get this fully animated cutscene. There's been 0 fully animated cutscenes in the game since the beginning. Like the very beginning of the game, you get a somewhat fully animated cutscene. But that's kind of it. So you get into this fully animated cutscene with a character who doesn't seem like he's gonna really matter, talking to you for really no reason. Like, he really is just a guy that runs a gas station that you're looking to get some gas from. That's literally his entire interaction in the game, at least so far. Like, he's the guy that sends you off for the antibiotics before you can get the gas. And I haven't gotten back to him to see what happens, but he seemed kind of crazy, so I imagine his wife, who needs the antibiotics, who they don't show, probably will have turned and because of that, there will be this element.
Stand together, united for Dalaran.
Don't.
So, yeah, just a bizarre animated cutscene, but at the very least, I could totally tell that that cutscene probably was used in a trailer, probably was used to show off what zombie was going to be, although it really is not indicative of what zombie is at all. I'm in a kind of weird position here.
We must band together, united for Dalaran.
Kill this. Play this. And
Don't.
bench.
Ha! You call that
So, remember when I said that they were going to start delaying video games and claiming because it was to avoid crunch, and while that would always be sort of true, it would also be sort of a disingenuous explanation or reason for things. Well, that's happened again. Well, it started happening already.
Ha! You call that magic.
See.
Ha! You call that magic.
Return. So we have a Gamatsu article over here. Cuphead's DLC, The Less Delicious Course, has been delayed to 2020, no longer due out in 2019. This quote here, they don't say the exact word crunch, but they say it's also important that we make things in a way that's healthy and sustainable for our team. With that in mind, we're moving it forward. Which, like, I kind of didn't think that Cuphead needed DLC at all. Frankly, any content could have just been that was left over could have been added to a either surprise bit of DLC or a sequel to the game, and that you pretty much have to have a sequel to the game. Like, I don't see how you aren't going to end up needing that.
Maximum chaos.
Yeah. So, yeah, even adding the new character, which seemed like it was unnecessary as far as Cuphead. What I would have done with Cuphead would have been to maybe put a patch out, some balancing, some bug fixes, and that would be it. I don't really see a reason for that kind of game in particular to need any expansion until you make a sequel. And I think Cuphead is such an amazingly successful game that clearly, since Microsoft owns them, the Microsoft are telling them, we want you to make a sequel at some point. Maybe not even as the next game, but it should be getting worked on in some level of quality. Alright, well, I'm gonna do this. Now I'm going to do this.
We must band together, united for Dalaran. We must band together, united for Dalaran.
And let's see.
Sure, send the big guy.
Kill that guy.
Suffer.
Kill that guy.
Ha!
And kill that guy. Then in the turn. Gamma Sutra has basically the same article, maybe exactly the same article. Shenmue 3 dev to offer back refunds over Epic Game Store exclusivity. This is phrasing it slightly different, and this is where a great example of just how you have to have multiple news sources is because one is saying it's Yeeznet, the Shenmue dev, that's offering backer refunds, where the other story is saying it's the Epic Store. Which is true? Who knows where the truth lies. I imagine it was a negotiated 50-50 split. Or some other kind of negotiated thing. Alright. Heal. Play this. And play this. TechRaptor has an article here. PlayStation Plus July 2019 games have been changed. Detroit Become Human has entered the mix. Let's see. An unspecified issue has changed it. The games for this month were previously announced for Horizon to be Horizon Chase Turbo and Pro Evolution Soccer. That's 2 games, and then Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 has been removed and replaced with Detroit Become Human or other games depending on your country. And my only thought is maybe Pro Evolution Soccer had some microtransactions in it that people didn't want to have to deal with and talk about right now. That might be it. Or it could be that there's just a case of some other issue.
Important job gets special bomb.
You're the best we've got.
Alright, well, this will do something. I'm not sure I'm gonna win here. Probably not. Yeah.
Science overwhelming.
It's a big difference though for Pro Evolution Soccer and Detroit Become Human. Now, in all fairness, Detroit Become Human was not a super successful game. It also might be a case that I suppose it is possible that what's going on here is the Quantic Dreams games are actually going to be removed from the PlayStation Store, and this is just pure random speculation on my part, but if those games were leaving the PlayStation Store, then perhaps that's why Sony wanted to get it out quickly. Or maybe it's not leaving the store so much as Sony is ending some kind of relationship and they wanted to get Detroit Become Human out on PlayStation Plus earlier to get that out of the way. Yeah, and here I've lost. Just play that hero ability anyways. Yeah, that might be the case. There's any number of reasons. Let's move on. We have a game here called Zombie Rush Extinction, which looks like a mobile game. It does have a lot of zombie-looking creatures on the ground, and it does kind of look like it might be some kind of tower defense game. this is kind of what you would want to play, but I also feel like this is probably nothing. It's just a build your towers and tower defense sandbox game. There, I suppose, is a level of zombies. You want enough so that they're individualized. You want few enough that each zombie feels like its own individual, with like random clothing and character generation, which Zombie U is kind of nice about that, although it doesn't seem to put any of the female zombies in any positions of power. Like, there are no female police, there are no females in the Royal Guard uniforms at Buckingham Palace, although that might be accurate. I don't think I've ever seen a female Royal Guard at Buckingham Palace either. But just standard police and police outfits, there definitely are female police in London. This game, Zombie Rush Extinction, is $2 discounted and a bunch of languages supported. Yeah, it's not good enough to make it to the fall list. That being said, it is...
The violet hold will hold, I guess.
Yeah. It has some nice character creation. The first character I played as was a random guy. The second character I played as was a random girl in like a tank top and a skirt, which certainly didn't seem like the kind of attire you would want in a zombie apocalypse, but I doubt anybody was planning for it. And then the third character I'm playing as is a police officer in a police outfit, although then it gets into some weirdness why he has this what looks like a bulletproof vest and it's doing absolutely nothing to protect him from being attacked by zombies. Everybody takes the same amount of damage, everybody takes the same amount of health. The game is designed in such a way that it can never have any kind of difficulty curve, because at any point your character dies and you're back to level 1. So yeah, there's definitely, in living up to the rogue light elements that they put into the game, they ruined the gameplay basically in Zombie. Yeah, let's get rid of as many gold cards as possible. This might be a new card, actually. And can't get rid of that one yet. This is, I'm pretty sure, a new card. Actually, speaking of new cards, we do have a story here, and I would like to talk about it before we end this recording and break it up. As for our daily quests, we got one done, which is kind of all we needed to do, because Friday, it will be fine. So, TechRaptor has this article, Hearthstone censored blood and sexual content toned down in art changes. Let's see if we can open this up, this image up, and see if we can get it bigger. Alright. So on the left here, we have the new character, Queen of Pain, and with a new art style, replacing the Mistress of Pain. The next thing we have is Eviscerate, replacing Eviscerate, and the art style doesn't seem like it really has changed any in this case, although it does seem like it's a little less fuzzy, but that might just be the art source. Oh, there's a little bit of blood, I think, coming out maybe here, that maybe they're changing that. Some of these changes probably not that big, but then you have huge changes, like the Fellstalker is completely replacing Succubus, which a warlock having a Succubus demon is canonical for Warcraft and World of Warcraft. So this card is just totally gone and replaced with Fellstalker. So we should look over here, and I clearly had 2 Succubuses. Do I have 2 Fellstalkers? Probably. Yes. I have 2 uncraftable Fellstalkers and 2 golden uncraftable Fellstalkers. So they did just change the art and change the name. And that's part of the problem of a digital card game, is that changes like this can happen. Here they have changed Deadly Shot to be an arrow going outward, whereas before it was a arrow going inward through the body of somebody. What are these changes for, though, is the real question. Some of these just seem like they're artistic changes for no reason, when really your artist should just be making new content. Head crack has been changed to, I guess, maybe be a little less violent, but not really. And the way the text is written has been changed worse. Then bite. Bite was a rat biting into something. Now it's just a animal biting an animal with claw jaws. Secret Keeper is now no longer showing her behind and side cleavage, which is a kind of traditional comic book pose. And now she's just standing upward, although you can still see cleavage and you can still imagine she has a large behind. The question is, what are these changes for? Like, what's the reason? These looking at Winged Harpy here, where she looks like she's in a slightly slightly more covering bikini and coming from a direct onward approach versus a more bent over angled approach. This still probably would in no way be a game that would be acceptable in any Islamic countries. Let's zoom in a little bit more, because I think they would still make the argument that they just hate all video games in general, or this is the Magic the Gathering argument that Christian religions often made, is that you're summoning real demons, or you're practicing in witchcraft, or something along that line. Like there's so this feels very SJW-y, just to change the art and waste your time changing the art. People were never going to be happy with that kind of change. Eviscerate's the weirdest one, though, by far. It just looks like the art was improved and touched up on. It doesn't look like anything else changed. Unless this is a tiny little splatter of blood, which I guess maybe this is. But then this tiny splatter of blood has been changed to maybe not be considered blood. And Queen of Pain, I think, looks as accentuated as she did before, so I wouldn't be surprised if Queen of Pain changed it yet again. Just feels really, really silly to make these changes and cause controversy and start censoring your game. I know Hearthstone definitely feels like it should be a kids game. It definitely feels like they want it to be a kids game with their commercials, but it can't be a kids game. It just absolutely can't. It's not the way it plays. I would be so happy if they made it a kids game and it took only 10 minutes to play a game. But how do you get to that? Well, you would have to reduce the amount of life points that people have. You'd have to put in a bunch more random cards, which would lose you all attention of the style of professional players. Like, professional players would totally not want to play Hearthstone if it had a bunch of random cards in it. But if it's a kid's game, it has to have random cards in it. So that's weird. And what's really crazy is that if we were to compare some of the card art from the Pokemon trading card game, I bet you'd find there's at least a couple of trainers or card arts on that go further than the cards that got edited here. Tech Raptor's point here is predictably r/Hearthstone. Everybody's getting all their news from Reddit, which is a bad situation. Reddit, people talk about breaking up Facebook and Twitter and Google and such, and like Reddit really needs to be broken up. And Tech Raptor's more SJW than me, so their quick take is, while these changes are certainly disappointing, a casual observation of the cards and their changes shows a worrying trend. More than a few other cards have violent or sexually suggestive art, and they may be on the chopping block next. Oh, I thought they were saying that it was a worrying trend because the cards have violent or sexually suggestive art. You're really getting crazy though, because this is what Dungeons and Dragons, this is what Hero Quest, this is what all of the art, album art for like rock LPs in the old day. This is what fantasy was and has always been. This is Conan, this is Red Sonja, this is what it was. It was always around the idea of, if you're doing fantasy, or at least the kind of fantasy that's not like simplified for kids, it always has been scantily clad loincloths. It's always been blood and guts. That's the appeal of it. And so they're removing the appeal of fantasy to make it kid friendly, and that's not really gonna do anything, particularly for Hearthstone. Hearthstone just cannot be a kid's game. It can't. It needs to completely change how it plays. Now, on the other hand, to be fair, if the second dinner Marvel game comes out, I fully expect that we're going to see a lot of bright colors on those cards. I expect that it will be 100% Disney-fied and kid-friendly. I bet we're not going to see even like She-Hulk, who is well known for being muscular and having a generous bust size. I don't think she's going to be drawn in any real sexy way, or any of the other characters. Odd I picked She-Hulk there, but that was the first one that came to mind. There really aren't that many female heroes to mention. So yeah, I don't know if She-Hulk is even, yeah, she's Marvel. Yeah. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. We're going to move over to the European account. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.